welcome to the Holy Hour, the bi-weekly all-cure podcast. We have another epic birthday celebration episode for you guys. Woo-hoo! Happy birthday to pornography! Oh, the sweet sound of pornography. Welcome to a night of music and despair. And I'm here with Chaz and Antonio.
What's up?
Welcome, fellas.
Three straight guys talking pornography.
Talking pornography. It's going to get down and dirty tonight. We're going to get to the bottom of this. 40 years worth of pornography. We're going back to the 80s. We're leaving out that 70s pornography that was always a little confusing to me as a kid.
Little hairy.
Going straight to the 80s pornography was just more up my alley, I guess. But
yeah, big hair, scars.
Totally.
Better production value.
Better makeup. Straight
to VHS.
Yeah. So, like we were saying, the pornography jokes just never get old. After 40 years even, we could say, when you're either walking around with a pornography t-shirt on or telling your kid that you're going to do a podcast about pornography later tonight. It just, I always felt like, and I guess I'll kick this off maybe with the idea of this event. I had like an idea of when the Cure has gotten you in trouble theme for a show. I don't know if there's really that many scenarios, but we went to like a children's like fire engines convention kind of, like trucks and stuff when Henson was real little, and I had the earliest pornography shirt you made, Chaz, with the black one, with like more of the silhouettes on it and stuff. And it didn't even cross my mind, standing there with all these like little kids and these like firemen and everything would just give me like the dirtiest looks and like this is piece of shit. And I was like, and then Casey was like, yeah, they're all totally reading your shirt and it says pornography across the top, and you're like hanging out with all these children and they're all eating candy and getting in a fire truck. I was like, no way. I was like, well, fuck them, man. They don't know about one of the greatest albums ever recorded. That's their problem. It's like if they can't handle it, then
as you get into your airbrushed van.
It wasn't like I was
Pegasus on the side of it.
It wasn't like I was walking around with a camcorder handing out Tootsie Rolls or something. I was like, what the fuck? So,
I feel the same way when I wear my Meat Hook Sodomy Cannibal Corpse shirt to baseball. It's just like, guys, it's a good album. Get over yourself.
If you don't know this, then you're the ones that are missing out. So. Whew. Yeah, so we kind of were like, I wanted to keep it just the three of us for this one because like the other older episodes, Donald and I hashed this out way back early on with the Cure talk in this podcast, but we haven't really had a chance to dive into you guys' thoughts on this particular album, and I'm dying to hear, it's come up, here and there as various songs get mentioned for whatever topic we're talking about and such. But as a whole, I was really curious to know where you guys, Antonio and Chaz, lie on this, and also revisiting and all the 40th anniversary glory that we want to propose. So I hope you still got your tuxes on and are ready to party down. So
I'm in my birthday suit, baby.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, maybe that's the more appropriate pornography tuxedo. So.
That'd be a piece of Carvel cake.
Yeah.
Antonio, why don't you go? Because I think I've already talked about pornography. I'm gonna say my piece, but
if we have a lot just full on, like, and we know you're a big fan of it and all, but I don't know if I've ever got like first impressions and highlights and lowlights and all that. So let's go down the full list, and I guess no better place to start maybe just with some of the generic facts here, as we all know that it is the Cure's fourth studio album. It was released,
which is bonkers.
Yeah, nuts, isn't it? And then
they cranked out so many in their first like 5 years as a band. It's like insane.
Yeah, May 4th, 1982 it came out. So I mean, we're already in 82, and then fourth album, and they're ending an era. It was recorded coming off the heels of the Charlotte Sometimes single, which was and when you think of context of when this album came out, coming out of Faith, which was a more dreamy dark album, I guess, gothy, dreamy-ish, versus what we get with Pornography. Recorded at Rack Studios with our boy, or our man, Phil Thornalley. He was a boy at the time, though. I guess a young lad maybe is a more appropriate. So yeah, co-producing for the first time with somebody other than Mike Hedges or Chris Perry. So they brought in Phil Thornalley to produce it, and like I said, dark era masterpiece, perhaps. A lot of people would consider this their favorite Cure album that we've talked to. I think just generally speaking, seems like a lot of people will pick Disintegration or Pornography. They go one way or the other when they say, what's your favorite? I don't know. What do you think? Is that fair to say? It's definitely up there.
It is. I guess if you're asking the question now, I could say that it's in my top 3.
Yeah, possibly first even.
I think it's the only album that I think we both agreed on that we weren't going to change any of the songs on. Because I think possibly because maybe it didn't have the B-sides that Disintegration had.
True.
But I mean, there's really hard way, it's really hard to leave some of those B-sides off Disintegration. But this one, I think everything was right with the track order with the album. So I mean, it depends on my mood. So it could go from, I don't think it's ever been number 1. So 2's probably the highest it's ever gone.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome. And Antonio, I felt like maybe you leaned towards like initially more pop Cure. How do you feel on the dark era as a whole, and Pornography just in a general statement?
So interestingly enough, I think it was, I'm pretty sure Chaz, you're the one that had said to me that listening to it, I think you said to me listening to it in headphones, like all the way through. You mentioned that to me like a while ago. And I've now done that a few times since then. And interestingly enough, going back now, it ranks a lot higher than it used to for me. The earlier dark era of the Cure, although I like it, is not my favorite. I mean, I'm more in the Disintegration, Head on the Door, like kind of Wish-y era. So for me, it's drastically grown since then. It's my favorite of the dark era Cure per se, if you're gonna whatever we're gonna call that beginning part of it. It's tough. I mean, Charlotte sometimes is probably in my top 10 Cure songs of all time, and there are things that I love about that era, and I love A Forest, and I love a lot of, but as a whole album now, Pornography really stands out in for me in those first and up until then, it's my favorite of those. And and like we were kind of saying a little bit earlier, I did dive into and listen to on vinyl today the Robert Smith remastered 180 gram vinyl,
right?
And that remastering definitely makes a huge difference. And for me, being a musician and how I hear things sometimes sonically, I think it enhanced the love of the songs for me, with a little bit more, with the mastering kind of bringing out, pumping up that volume a little bit and enabling like the bass to really be bassy and the vocals to really kind of cut through. There was a little bit of a muddiness to early Cure stuff that as younger me had trouble getting through, because my initial hearing the Cure was the more polished Cure. If this was the first record I heard, would probably be different, But even when I listened to like 17 Seconds, there's even more balance, I feel like sometimes, because there's less going on.
It's a lot more sparse.
So this album has definitely grown on me like more than any other Cure album. It may not have had the bigger first impression, but it had a longer lasting. Like, you know, like it used to be Faith was the album I would go to from that era, and now it's like no, it's Pornography. You know, so I guess it's aged well, as I have also like kind of tuned my ear and, you know, maybe listened to now into with better headphones, and you know, like I can afford a better stereo speakers, and it's not on a fucking Walkman or you know, like so it is
Robert
definitely
was in that time machine. He knew everybody.
Yeah.
One day you will catch up to my vision. But yeah, you know, it's definitely jumping ahead to the idea of how it's aged and stuff. But on the anniversary, of course, that'll be constant as we go through this. But yeah, I'm totally right there with you, where it's one that like every year I love it a little bit more, which is odd because I still probably like Faith as an album a little bit more. But this one just always wins me over a little bit more with each listen, which is crazy for a Cure album at this
Because I
point, where I'm
think
like, how the fuck have I not felt everything there is to feel on a Cure album at this point? But I still feel like every time I get into it a little bit more and a little bit more each year, I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's good or bad that I'm identifying more with this album every year.
So I think the big standout for me on this one versus Faith, if we're just, you know, because we're kind of mentioning it anyway, and I'm not trying to put them pound for pound against each other, but this one is more of one cohesive feel. It's almost like it's one long song that has all different great parts to it.
Yeah,
like they completely, every track on this record fits together so well, like fucking Legos. You know, where, you know, other albums have their, you know, again, there's songs that you might pull out, and I think that's why it's one of those albums, you know, like you were saying, Chaz, that you wouldn't change any songs on, because I think they all like are meant to be together. So it's one of those albums that the songs on it I like better when I listen to the whole thing together, as opposed to dropping them in between a whole bunch of other Cure songs in a mix. If that makes sense.
Yeah, when you're in the mood for Pornography, you pretty much put on Pornography. You don't like just grab a few of them and then move on to something that, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. Exactly. I'm gonna put you know, I'm just gonna sit here and drop Figurehead, you know, right next to Mint Car.
Yeah, nah, it doesn't work. Yeah, and even if you do throw a few into a mix here and there, it is like, if you're really feeling it, you want to hear the whole deal, you know, and it is pretty cool. That, I mean, all those. I mean, Faith is such a cohesive album too, but in the same, you know, it's a whole other feel, you know, which is cool.
Yeah,
it's one of those. But
I guess it still has a track or so that I feel like could be plucked out and put somewhere else on a different album, where this is just like, no, these all kind of belong here. You know.
Yeah, I see that for sure. I guess a good place to backtrack then is initial thoughts and stuff. I love like the idea, especially with the whole history of this album, because this is one that, you know, none of us were rocking out to it in 1982. Going back, even my old ass wasn't quite there yet. So
I wasn't ready for Pornography.
So yeah, we all kind of, like you were saying, Antonio, heard at least some glossier version of The Cure before going back and hearing this album. So I was just wondering if you can remember your earliest listens to the album and what your impressions were. I guess just real quick on mine to recap, even though I've been over this a bunch, is the idea of I mean, Hanging Garden from Standing on the Beach was the first one that I identified, because I like that a lot. And then the friend that got me into The Cure, I made a deal with him where he got into U2, so he didn't like any of his tapes anymore. So he sold like 4 tapes and a Kissing Tour t-shirt to me for like 10 or $20. I still have that t-shirt too. It's like paper thin, you know, and really gross when I wear it, but it's awesome. So that, it was like the top Japanese Whispers, 17 Seconds, and Pornography. I think I got all those in like one bundle. And it was kind of weird because I love like Staying on the Beach. I think maybe even Head on the Door had popped into the rotation. But these are all ones that I'd tap back into, and I would occasionally just listen back. And my first impression wasn't like, I wasn't really blown away by Pornography. I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is like, not like turned off by it, but I just thought it was kind of a little too heavy and like not as catchy. So it was always the one I put on when I
Yeah.
was sick of the other ones. So I'm like, oh, there's something here. And things like In Orange made me like 100 Years more when I'd heard that, because I really liked In Orange, and Strange Day, it made me like that more, but it was like one I always kind of picked at, and I never really listened to it over and over again until at least maybe 2 or 3 years later. Maybe I would really put it in full rotation. But Chaz.
Definitely heard Hanging Garden first off of Standing on the Beach, best of. But it was in that first bunch of records that I bought of the Cures, in that like from Double Decker, where I just went and found a whole bunch and they were really cheap, so I bought them all.
Yeah.
And then like it was initially like with Boys Don't Cry or Three Imaginary Boys, where I was like, well, they're kind of a punk band. And then you listen to the next stuff and you're like, okay, this is getting slower and this is not as fast as I was liking it to be. And I'm just like, all right. And then you get into Pornography and it's so dark and heavy that it's really hard to sit with for a long time.
Yeah.
You almost have to, you definitely have to be in a mood to listen to it. So off the bat, it was something that I didn't get into right away. I definitely liked Hanging Garden, which was fine with me just on the best of stuff, and I had it on my computer about that a little bit later after that. And I didn't really start getting into it until probably about the mid 2000s or so, because I didn't start getting into the Cure till like 99.
Okay.
And that's when I started spending a lot of time alone and by myself. So
It's like,
it kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah.
So so that's when I definitely started diving into it. The band Damnation AD, who I interviewed Mike before for the show. They had covered Cold years before, but I had heard that before, and that I was just like, whoa, a hardcore band that really likes Secure and like their their older stuff too. And I was just like, okay, that's cool. And then they did the full cover of it, which blew me away, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I would say it was hard to get into right off the bat, and it took me a while to appreciate it, but I'm glad I did eventually. So
yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like whiskey. I don't know anybody that has their first sip of whiskey and is like, this is fucking awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's more troubling if that is the case, like that.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Again, at least for us, where someone like, I guess I'll drop it in there now. Former guest Mike of the band House of Harm.
Yeah.
It's the first Cure album that he ever had.
Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
His dad gave him the cassette tape of it. So for him, it's his favorite Cure record. It's the end all be all. When speaking to him today, and I told him we were going to be doing it on Pornography, he was like so excited, and he literally said like first time he heard 100 Years, it like changed his life.
Yeah.
So if it's the first time you're hearing Robert Smith's voice, if it's the first time you're hearing this like sad sonic wave,
Yeah.
you're gonna hold on to it, the same way, that there are people where Wild Mood Swings is their favorite Cure record because it's the first thing they ever heard, or thing someone ever gave them.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm never, like it's gonna be a little bit different. But like he literally, at one point I went to see them play last night in Manhattan, House of Harm, and Melissa had asked Mike, like, oh, so you're very influenced by the Cure. Do you have any other influences? And he was like, nope. like musically, like the Cure is like his massive influence.
Awesome.
And Pornography was that staple album for him. And now, here he is, doing music at a young age, doing stuff that's very influenced by this earlier sounds now. And it's like, crazy to me
Yeah.
that, you know, Pornography is now growing like new music in fucking 2022.
Yeah.
So
I
it's like
love
it
that.
just shows you like that it does have like such significant power. So yeah, for me, it's not what I heard first. It it was a definite shock after what I had already heard, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not, you know.
Yeah.
And I almost like just immediately like wanted to retreat to the stuff that I did like because you're like, no, 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 I love this band, so I can't like not love this album. So I'm just gonna keep listening to this. You know, it was one of those things where you
Yeah.
almost felt like bad that I didn't
Right.
like love it, you know. But now, you know, it's like I dive back in, and you know, today I got it cranked up while I'm making my lasagna, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm just like rocking out, and it's like even though it's a very sad, moody album, there's times where it makes me happy,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
like such an interesting like emotional roller coaster.
It is. Yeah. And there
Yeah.
is a lot more to it, you know, in the sense of like the pop is still in there, you know, and the songwriting, it is catchy, you know, like we were saying with
Yeah, that
when we
stuff
talked about
peeks
film.
through.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
little
like
hooks, like whether it be like a catchy vocal melody or even just a little guitar riff here and there. I mean, just
yeah,
that.
like the guitar riff in A Strange Day,
Yeah, I
like
Yeah.
mean, it's like
Yeah.
is
it's
Yeah.
just
I mean,
classic.
you
And
know, I was doing air lead guitar to that,
yeah,
you know, in the kitchen today,
right.
you know. And Mike was saying that's his favorite song off the record.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one's
You know,
so
that's a
fucking good.
standout tune for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Pornography makes me hate blood flowers even more.
Yeah. And as
Oh,
harsh as it
no.
sounds, I know what you mean in the sense only because they always just put it in that trilogy idea and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's like don't, you know, Bloodflowers, and that's what I feel like I've come to love Bloodflowers more and more over the years. That's probably my number two. And going back to what Antonio said about like how much this album's grown, you know, I think because we all kind of did take it as the slow burn album, and this one definitely wins the
Mhm.
prize for me as like the one that's grown on me the most over all these years. But Bloodflowers is probably second in the sense that like just because I initially was so like it's nowhere near Pornography or Disintegration, why would you say that, you
Yeah.
know, and stuff. And then if you kind of take it as what it actually is in that time
Don't-
frame and its part
don't-
in the, you know, it's a good
don't.
album. It's got some good stuff. It's definitely got a few missteps, but I think it's growing on me. Maybe in 40 years when we do the 40th anniversary of Bloodflowers, I'll
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm still waiting for the self-titled to grow on me.
Yeah, that one, I don't know.
Yeah,
It might
yeah,
take a few
yeah.
more years on
Yeah.
that. The
Yeah.
50th
I mean,
anniversary on
yeah.
that one. But
I still
there goes
I
our,
still don't I still although I own an original copy, I still don't
yeah.
put on the top and listen to it from
There's
beginning
our
to
holy
end
hour
either.
bingo chart there where we check the dig on the self-titled album.
We still got to
Yeah.
make fun of Lowell.
Yeah,
we'll
and,
fit that in there.
Wish
So we'll find
re-release.
it.
I don't know how I'm gonna fit that one into this, the deluxe reissue. But yeah, that's awesome. And I remember when we talked to Mike about that too, of how cool that was that, you know, he got the first dose with Pornography, and I was just like, whoa, because usually
Yeah.
is almost everybody, even if you end up, even someone like Donald that was the most darkest of dark era fans, he still got into him with the pop stuff, you know, whether he'll
Yeah.
admit it or
Yeah.
not. It was, you know, just what eventually won him over more, but he went full
Well,
dark
well,
side.
if you think about too here, you know, here in the United States, like we weren't really hearing any of these songs on the radio.
Yeah.
You know, you
And
weren't
then-
hearing any of these songs on the radio unless it was college radio, and it was way later, and it was like some dude that's like, all right, I'm gonna give you like throwback stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
And we got them all at once, you know. It's like the
Yeah.
idea of getting Standing on a Beach is like all those singles was one album in my
Yeah.
mind as a kid, you know. So I was just like, what the fuck? This is amazing. Why even
Right.
have any other albums? You know, I was like, this is perfect. But yeah. So
Yeah, I think if you're getting in, like if you got into The Cure from like that, like 85 to 92 era, or even later, going back and listening to Pornography is probably a bigger shock than going back and listening to the top,
yeah.
just based on you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
sound.
Yeah,
You're
I
just
think
kinda
it
like,
was
what,
because I was
like,
in
what
that era,
the
and the
fuck?
top never seemed weird to me. That's why it was
Yeah.
surprising when you guys initially were kind of like, yeah, the top, and I'm like, yeah, it is kind of actually a weaker out. But I mean, all those
Yeah.
years, I was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't like ever
Yeah.
considered it like a weak album. It was just kind of the bottom of my list of the original like golden, list. And it was, but
Yeah, yeah.
same time, I was like, man, yeah, it does. And like you're saying, for sure, like the bigger shock. Yeah, I mean, I still think of that even just in the Cure's timeline of like people that were Cure fans through the Dark Era albums, that
Mhm.
shift from Pornography into
That was a bigger shock. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
that
yeah.
that
Like, if
must
you
have
were
just
back
been like,
then,
what the
you
fuck?
went through 17 Seconds in Faith, and like, this is the next progression. So it's in like, and if you were into goth back then,
Yeah,
you're listening to, to all those bands that have that, not the same sound, but same vibe.
yeah,
You're into that. But like, if you got into them in the 80s past, the mid 80s past, it's like a forgotten past that you don't want to,
yeah,
that
and then
the top, it feels a little bit more, at home than Pornography would.
totally.
Right. Yeah, and then, I think everybody at this point knows my hatred for Morrissey. But like Morrissey never put out or the Smiths didn't drop like an all of a sudden album that like you're like, what the fuck? Like they never
Yeah,
did like a 180,
yeah. They
So
didn't do
like
an
being
electronic album or
right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
what, Gavin? What?
Well, the Smiths didn't really have long enough, so I think they probably would have.
Well, that's
if
what I'm
they
saying.
had
Anything that
but Morrissey, he definitely
So
suffered
you
from
think the
his.
Smiths would have dropped like a Kid A? Like
Maybe. I think because Strange Ways Here We Come was definitely getting weirder. Their last album where they started just getting more like epic strings and pianos and stuff away from the guitar. But yeah, I totally see what you're
yeah,
saying.
but they still
it's
had the worst sounding voice on the planet.
Yeah.
Singing shit.
I'll just quietly eat.
A Smith song came on at work the other day, and I was quietly singing along to it. So, but it was a Smith song, and it was not Morrissey. So,
Yeah. Oh,
But I've gone back and I've listened to Johnny Marr play Smith songs and sing them, and I'm like, oh, this is a good song.
yeah.
And I don't hate it. So my issue is clearly with Morrissey. So for the rest of the Smiths, I do apologize for all my shit talking, but
Fair enough, but we'll leave that for a whole Smiths episode we'll do in the future, where I finally stand up for the Smiths. But
you'll stand alone.
yeah, I know. That's why I don't even bring it up now. It's like I'm not gonna die on this hill at this point.
I'm just gonna wear my Morrissey is a racist shirt.
Yeah.
I have a shirt that says the back of the shirt says anti-Morrissey before it was popular.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, everybody that hated Morrissey before it was like, it's like you guys already hated him, but you don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
But
stop it.
But I like the idea of the progression of those Dark Era albums and how it is like 17 seconds and then Faith, and you're turning up, and something Don and I touched on back when we did the original episode. Which was funny, that still sticks in my head of like the stages of grief, and how those albums really do kind of fit that, even though there's like 7 official stages. You don't really want to dive in, but like the idea that like 17 seconds would be like shock and denial, and then Faith is just like the grief, depression, and then like Pornography is the anger phase, and that it really is, because it goes from like just being just full on sad, like Faith is the funeral basically, but then Pornography is the fucking lashing out and smashing the whatever in the house and destroying the hotel room or whatever, because there's an anger side to it. But I mean, it really is just like cranking that knob. Like you wonder, like, could they have fucking done anything after that? Like where could it have gone if they backtracked and did another Dark Era album after Pornography? It would have seemed a little like rehashing
Too
Faith,
much.
or I mean, they almost just had to like implode, because it was like, what the fuck? If you did Pornography Part 2, it would just been too much, and so every album from this point on is just like so,
but I will say for what do you think it was? Again, we weren't fans and listening at that point, but what do you think was the bigger shock? Was it the fans that loved Pornography and then bought the top and were like, what the fuck is this? Or after the top dropping Head on the Door, like the top is such a interesting, like, out of that era, but I guess not quite jumping off the next
Well, they got
era.
the main shift was out of Pornography into Let's Go to Bed.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like the what
Well,
the fucking.
Well, I mean,
Death
I'm thinking
definitely
like
whispers,
full on
yeah.
So,
buying albums. Yeah, that's true.
Because like, and it was cool because like one of the episodes where Arusha talked to somebody that was a fan during that era, and it was cool because they said, yeah, they were shocked because they loved Pornography, but then Let's Go to Bed was just such a good pop song that you automatically were just like, yeah, fuck it, cool, they're doing this now. And while
Yeah,
they
let's
still
just
kind of
roll with
missed it, it was like a pretty seamless transition. Like it
Yeah.
blows my mind of like, oh, how did they not revolt and sellouts and like maybe that's a
Yeah.
later thing, but like in the 80s, everybody was just cool and they're like, yeah, cool, all right, now that because it's a good song. I mean, even if you weren't feeling Poppy Cure versus Dirt Cure, you can't really deny the fact that Let's Go to Bed isn't a fun song and like a good pop song. So I mean, at least
Yeah.
if they'd come out blazing with like Return or something off of like everyone would be like, I don't know, man. But like the fact that it's a solid awesome song definitely helps your case, and like Love Cats and The Walk are all awesome singles, so it's like I'm sure they lost some fans. There had to have been some that were just like, fuck
Yeah.
this. What? They're
But
singing
you know
about
what though? Like
cats
honestly,
now?
like
What
Boys Don't Cry is a pop song.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like they wrote that
in
before
there.
the 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
like, so it's like the pop was always in them.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
so it's
Couldn't have been too shocked, maybe. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and especially if, like, let's say, in the US, like that album really kind of hit more around 80, 81, like when Boys Don't Cry was really hitting. It's not that far away technically when you're looking at years
Yeah.
to when that other stuff, when, that was dropping. So it's
Yeah.
it just
isn't
happens to be that there was some other really melancholy shit
Yeah.
sandwiched in between
Yeah.
those things,
And they are just this epic, or they're just this little indie band technically at this point. I don't know the size of the venues they're, playing by Pornography, but at the same time, we think of them as this epic, 4-year gap, all this anticipation and, all those things of
Right.
like, what is the
Yeah.
Cure going to do next? And like that, it would be like, on par with some indie band, just like, yeah. And then we put out this catchy song instead. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
So it's
Right,
not
yeah.
really that big of a deal.
Yeah,
Probably,
it didn't like tear down the entire music industry. Like in our heads, the way we think it, like,
yeah. And
you know.
especially like I say, just like Pornography, where the fuck could you go from that anyway? It's like if it got any darker, it would be a mess. Probably just be-
like at that point, if they were getting any like press in like major like American magazines, like let's say Rolling Stone, it was probably just like when it's that little square of like what came out and what you thought about the album.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like the 3-page spreads
Yeah.
like
It wasn't-
that happened later in their career, or covers.
Right.
Like it was like little blurb,
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I guess going on the idea of the stages of grief and progression too. Just a funny side note: when we started doing the anniversary ones in the pandemic, remember, very jokingly with Chaz and Donald, we were saying, oh man, what if these all like coincide with the years of the pandemic and this thing lasts 3 years? Wouldn't that be crazy? Like, because the 17 seconds is like the spooky first year where
Yeah.
nobody knows, and
Yeah.
then Faith is just the really sad
Yeah.
second year of the pandemic where everyone's dying, and then there'd be like a third year, like, oh my god, there is a third
Next
year.
year's gonna get all wacky.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah,
top.
luckily, fingers
Yeah.
crossed and knock on wood, it hasn't been quite as bleak in this third year, and hopefully we're still just gonna keep getting more positive out of this. But
Yeah.
we're
Well, apparently we're not in a pandemic anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's what they said.
That's
Yeah.
what Fauci said today. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Was that today
Yeah.
officially, or
Yeah, that
is
was
it?
today.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I saw his
Yeah.
name pop up on some like Google highlights, but I didn't click on it to see what he said. So that's good. Well, so yeah,
You're like,
good. I'm
you're
glad
like,
we
this is
broke it.
clickbait. It's just gonna bring me to pornography.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Everything ties back to pornography, one way or the other.
yeah, I know that I've told you this before, but I don't know if I said it on the pod. I'm pretty sure that I have, but like those first three albums are like the first like three different stages of depression for me,
yeah,
where like I'm just at average day of depression would be like 17 seconds, and then like faith is like when I'm in like an existential nothing matters,
yeah,
and then pornography is where I'm just fucking angry
yeah,
with being
Right.
so sad, that I'm just angry at everyone and everything. So
And then when you snap out of it, you're like, let's go to bed. You're like,
yeah. That's a,
yeah, my
Yeah.
more manic, that's one of my manic stages. So yeah. So yeah, definitely, totally. So yeah, it's it definitely coincides with what mood I'm in, depending on what I'll listen to.
yeah.
Faith, and I've just told you before, faith takes me a lot to get into. Like I have to be in a very, very desperate, dark place for me to get into
Yeah.
faith. And it's a very hard album for me to listen to, even though I think it's like it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But pornography is an easier one for me to get into, just
Yeah,
because
that's
probably I'm
interesting.
angrier more. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I kind of
yeah.
feel the flip where it's like faith, even though it is like more sadness, depression for me, and things that I can even relate to more, but it's just so like you can still put it on and there's a lot of like just kind of dreamy, beautiful sounds going on, and I can kind of ignore the heaviness of it, and just have it be like a nice peaceful album too, in a sense. But yeah, it was always I'm just never a big anger kind of, that's why I don't get into hardcore and rap or anything. I don't like being yelled at. That's why I don't like the self-titled album. So anything
You
that
were
even
a huge DMX fan though.
nah, yeah. So yeah, I don't do
Gotta
good
give it to you.
with any anger, so yeah, maybe that's it. Even though this isn't, by those standards, it's not that angry of an album, but at the same time, for a Cure album, he definitely it's more harsh even than definitely those other ones.
He's got some very, very hardcore dark imagery in this and faith. So yeah.
But I think
Sorry.
that little bit of anger that's in pornography as opposed to faith, there's also, like, as we, psychoanalyze shit here, like we have degrees or something. There's also something very like liberating about the point when you get to anger, because at least you're facing it, and it's at least you're reacting. Sometimes, there's that difference in, there's those times when I'm depressed where I feel like where you just were staring at things and like there was no reaction to anything and you're kind of in a hole. And that's kind of faith. And then, like you were saying, once you've gotten to the point where you're angry, at least you've broken out of the I'm staring at the wall phase.
Sure.
So there's something kind of liberating about that.
Yeah. It's like, get it out, And it's
like, I get that. Yeah. With me, I know with, with my bipolar 2 and everything, I that anger stage is harder for me to handle than when I'm in that, faith stage. Usually the faith stage is followed up, but with the anger stage, just because it's and like, I don't want to get too into mental stuff or whatever because we don't have degrees, but I'm in therapy and we talk about it, but like when that anger kicks in, it sends me into a deeper depression. So it can, there's something about that is very triggering when it comes into listening to pornography, but also therapeutic and cathartic. So
I think for me it's just natural because I'm Italian, so I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh man, I want to yell at stuff, and then I'm gonna eat some gabagool. You know what I mean?
Then we're all good, right?
Yeah,
Everything's cool.
Yeah,
But
let's
yeah,
eat some prosciutto and move on with our day.
but maybe it's that angle, Chaz, where it's if Robert's doing the anger for you, then you don't have to. So that's good, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So, yeah. It's interesting just how that goes, and I guess Antonio, is there one that you would put on more casually? Faith versus Pornography? Do you?
I think when I'm in the mood for that era, I can kind of go to either
Either
one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's more like what song is kind of like in my head that I'm itching to hear, from either of the two records.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I will, where I'll go to is sometimes like I'll just go to Spotify and I'll go to The Cure and I'll just like hit play. And then when there's a song that hits me, it's like it tells me I'm in the mood for that one, and then I'll just hit it, go to the full album and play it through. So sometimes I kind of like I let the songs dictate it sometimes, because like if I'm not like, if I'm hopping in my car and I'm not in the middle of a podcast or this or that I'm listening to, and I don't want to think about what I want to listen to, it's like, all right, cool, I'll go to The Cure and I'll hit play. But then, so let's say, like a Strange Day comes on, then I'm like, okay, I want to listen to the whole album, or, Primary comes on and I'm like, I got to listen to Faith, so it's like, I kind of like, a lot of times the song will dictate it, but if I'm in that mood to listen to that, it could go either way with the albums.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel like over the years I've definitely, like, I used to always say I don't listen to Pornography as much because I have to be in that exact mood, but like I feel like maybe just because of this podcast even, and I keep looking at everything with the whole wide scope kind of thing and seeing where it fits in their timeline and stuff. Now I can put it on more casually these days and just have it be, I'm not angry or I'm not going to that place, but at the same time, it definitely leads that. But I feel like a further testament of its growth in my like love and appreciation over the years. I finally have gotten that point with Pornography where I can just put it on because I'm kind of feeling it, but I just want to listen to it more as like an artistic, like their thing, and like hear their side of it and not have it be my shit that I'm trying to dump into the music. Like every time I put on Disintegration still, it's like here we go together, me and you. Like,
let's rip open these scabs.
Yeah, but it's still a very loving walk down that lane. Yeah, I guess along those ideas too of what the band was going through, I guess as far as the imploding and the taking the anger to the next steps and stuff, it was kind of funny when we talked to Phil of how like I ended up scratching a bunch of the questions from the list as we were talking to him because, I was like anticipating, you could feel the tension in the air between him and Simon and everything was coming to this boiling point, but it sounded like it was a fairly, other than Robert getting intense when he would do the final vocals maybe or something, but like it was pretty fun environment. They were having a pretty decent time.
I will say like, if this was going to be, I mean, we all know it wasn't now, so it's what if? If this was going to be Simon's last hurrah, like there's some really great bass stuff in this record. You know what I mean? It would have been like a nice bow out. Like, and I think there is I think there is a little bit, you can almost feel some aggression in some of those bass lines, you know what I mean? He might not have been like putting it out, but he might've been like, I'm just really good.
The way they say like band sometimes, like if you're pissed you play better.
Like,
exactly. like the Ross Robinson, piss them off, man, they'll play better.
Oh man.
And my brother used to say that to me. He would be like, you sing better when you get pissed off, so he'd like try to fuck with me or something before we would like do it.
We should ask Phil if he would have filled the room with candles before You
Oh,
know,
I know that would have been awesome
Just
if we could have just
screamed in a
bashed
lull
on
in the
Ross.
face. Really.
I know you don't want to touch any Ross Robinson bashing, Antonio, but we'll handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little harder. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, it would have been funny to compare and contrast the.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
but I guess
What would
most of the bullshit happened on tour then.
Yeah. So
So
it sounded like it all wrapped up fairly civil enough, you know. I think it was just more of the exhausted factor, and that's the way they always kind of paint the history too, is just that it was like nonstop,
Yeah.
like we were even saying, just cranking out all these albums, touring nonstop before and after the album, in the middle of the album, whatever, and like
Robert
you know,
doing
it
his own
sounded like
thing with Susie, and then
Right.
was he
Yeah.
working with the Glove at that point, or was that
Nah,
after
Glove was a little
Simon?
later,
Was
but
that
he was
after he
definitely
left?
buds. Yeah,
Okay.
after he left, because then
Like they didn't
officially,
even
but
do
they were.
anything while he was still in the band.
I think he was hanging out with Severin a lot.
Okay.
So I think that was kind of,
Yeah.
and they had done the way earlier first round when he played with Susie. But so I think they were just getting tight, and I think Severin was around a lot. A few people kind of speculated that maybe it was just kind of tension that the other bass player was hanging out with him and stuff like that.
That's the
so
only
that
thing I
makes
could think of
sense.
when when he was talking about that. I was like, well, there wasn't any issues in the studio. It had to be
Yeah.
on tour, and like, was this like a I don't know, was Robert's not attention to the band as much as other things he was
Yeah.
doing? Was
He
that
just
an
kept
issue?
talking about Severin the whole time,
Yeah.
like every show. So me and Severin were just Severin's so great. He's just
I miss his smell.
It's like, oh yeah. It's like, you used to like the way I smelled. Lowell's like, calm down.
Yeah, but I don't know
We
where
got
the do we know where the tension
they said like the actual night of the fight was just over a bar tab, but I mean, that's
Right,
the way
yeah.
it must
it's
have been,
never over it's never over the bar
yeah,
tab.
I mean, it was just
It's
like,
never about
so,
the
I mean,
dish in
they
the
must
sink.
have-
It's
No, right,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, apparently,
So, yeah, it
like
must have
Robert
been-
dipped out and said that Simon was Robert and he was gonna pay the bill, and like it was like,
Yeah, but there's no way
Yeah,
that's why they
like-
fucking freaked out. Or maybe they did. I mean, they were probably just so fucking hammered and like worn out at that point and tired and playing these songs. That's the huge other fact. It's like one thing if you record it and then you're going out and playing your normal full later Cure set and sprinkling these in, but like if your whole like back catalog consists of like 17 Seconds, Faith, and Pornography, and you're playing those songs every night while you're exhausted
Yeah.
and kind of hating your bandmates. I mean, you could see how the tension would be a little bit like. I'm just surprised that they didn't like totally just both destroy Lowell, though. It's like crazy that those two ended up imploding on each other. Or maybe they like wanted to like take it out on Lowell, but they couldn't or something. So redirected it on each other. Who knows? But it was like,
or Lowell
pretty
maybe was like,
crazy.
they're finally including me, like because they just kept bitching about each other to Lowell.
yeah.
It's just like they're actually talking to me.
This is great. We're all good. It's like, wait, who's what? They're gone.
If he loves Severin so much, why doesn't he just go with him?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Maybe
don't
they
know.
don't. Maybe they
But,
don't mind my bland drumming.
so, yeah, it's hard to imagine they just would go that way, and there was no real signs of it in the studio. But and you wonder too with Lowell's drumming on that topic of like that was another question I scratched while we were talking to Phil that I was curious about was like because 100 Years is such kind of a cool different song with the
Yeah.
drum loop going. Like, did
Right.
they try other songs like that? And was it only because Lowell couldn't play that beat and it was getting frustrating in the band because they wanted to do shit that they couldn't do? But then Phil said that the songs were really, pretty well put together coming into the studio and well rehearsed. He said they pretty much had them down, and it was more of a matter of like, how do we fill it in with atmosphere and such more, as opposed to really finding different instruments and how to do it. So, but I don't know, maybe that was still something to do with it. I was curious to think if there was other songs on Pornography where they thought about using loops, or if there was a take somewhere out there where Lowell was playing the beat and it just sounded dreadful and they're like, let's get the
I was gonna say, like, I would love to be a fly on the wall in that when they're practicing and he's trying to show Lowell how to play that.
Yeah.
And like Lol
Yeah,
cannot get it. And like he's
It's
just
just
like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, how awesome and civil of them, even after all these years, that's never come up though. You know, if that was the thing where it was just like, yeah, we spent a whole day like trying to just show him that jump.
Could
there.
not teach him this
like,
beat,
fuck it,
yeah.
let the. Yeah, it's like let's use the drum machine. You know, and it's like,
Do you think they would have needed
But
it for? I don't know. That's like, I don't know. I'm trying to.
yeah, they don't really use it with Andy. He would just play it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did they?
No, I
He
did.
didn't even play along with anything, did he? He was just playing it. Right?
Yeah,
So,
Jason does it.
yeah.
Boris has got to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to look up on the set list.
It's just
but
more of whether they did like a loop with it, like New Order style kind of thing, where he's
Yeah.
playing. You know, I mean, the drummers definitely, all of them have covered it from then on. But yeah,
I mean,
you
could
wonder with that
Could
kind
you
of stuff.
imagine what this record might have been like, though? Like, if Boris was already the drummer in the writing process?
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
just would have been bonkers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably would have
four,
been.
but yeah, 4-piece and but yeah, I don't know.
But
Like
yeah.
I just. It,
But at the same time, this is like Lil's most defining. I feel like he fucking rocked these beats. I mean, all those beats are so like you can recognize them. You know, they are like catchy beats. Like anybody just plays a drum beat off of Pornography, you know it without even hearing whether he came up with it or not. Who knows? You know, Robert might have just done it all out on the drum machine first and said play this. But at, you know, same time, Lil fucking crushed it on all those in his defense. You know, it's like where he could have gone from there.
Yeah, but it almost
knows,
all
you know,
seems
but
like in the same time signature and in the like.
but that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody's
they did
accusing him of
everything they
being,
could.
you know, the dude from Def Leppard, but you know, it's
he's got two arms.
But they are. But
well, this is the
those are
hard.
pretty fucking rad beats, though. You know,
100 Years is the hardest song they had up to that date and the fastest, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
Grinding Halt,
aside from
maybe.
some of those punky, yeah, I mean, those varied in speed depending on which version.
Yeah, but
you
still,
take,
they're
but,
not like 100 Years with that beat.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing
Yeah,
that
as far as
hard.
the beat, it's
Yeah.
nothing. Tick it.
That's
yeah.
intimidating. I can understand that, like if that's that's intimidating compared to what they were doing
and
before.
it just fucking sounds cool with the drum
Oh my
machine.
God,
I mean, there's
yeah.
a really good chance that they were just like, let's just do it. It sounds cool.
I mean-
and he was like, yeah, I'm not playing that. Let's do it.
Yeah, it sounds a great idea, guys.
yeah, let's do it.
And we've well established that they're phenomenal at opening tracks, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
this might be like in the top 3. Like
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
sounds-
Like
Yeah.
and just to come out
Yeah.
blazing with that.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to think like
Top 3 might be tight, but
Plain-
I definitely love it.
a plain song. Yeah, we did this episode, and I can't even fucking
Yeah, we
remember.
already
what it was
did.
about. God
I
damn
wasn't
it.
here for it. Come on, Gavin, you don't have the notes somewhere? Like, where are they? Come on.
Might need a minute.
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
one,
Well, I
considering
remember
we make
I
this
remember
shit
it
up
was-
every episode. I don't remember what we picked. I think we chose technically In Between Days because it's just the greatest song, you know, like In Between Days, but it's not really like a normal opener for
Yeah.
them. It's like a big single.
Yeah, it's
know,
actually
but,
probably harder than I think it is when you spit it out
Yeah,
that quick.
but Underneath the Stars was up there too for me. Like I
yeah,
think
for
that's
sure.
like an
So-
amazing opener. But like yeah,
But I will say this might be their weakest outro song.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
As
dun.
we start getting into those,
No.
yeah, maybe we should do highlights and lowlights. Should we jump ahead to that? Let's start with the lowlights. And so we already opened this door. Maybe what is the most expendable track on this album? I guess Antonio
Yeah,
already said it, and
Pornography.
I agree.
Yeah.
Pornography. but before we get Chaz's answer,
Fuck.
it's funny because I always go into these episodes with my one side note of which song I do probably want to like just bash a little maybe or say is the weakest link or something. You know, even with Wendy Time when we did the Wish one, I was listening to it, I was like, oh, that keyboard part's cool in there. Wow, this is the most I've enjoyed listening to the song in 40 years or 30
You were
years.
trying to find something though, like-
Because I was trying to, yeah, and in the past week of listening to Pornography, like in detail, I'm like, The song Pornography is pretty badass when you really dig into it. And I was like listening to it and I was hearing all the little sample parts like he was talking about. And like, when you kind of do dig it apart, and it might just be because, again, it's the one I haven't massacred the most by putting it, at least all the other ones have probably made it onto like 20 mixes in my lifetime at least, and
exactly.
that one. So I was kind of like, man, that song, actually, this is the most I've ever enjoyed and really listening to it was right before we hit record. But it is the weakest, but it's such an important song on it. I feel like it is just like, you gotta just do it.
I would have to agree it probably is the weakest, but I think it also brings the album together. And it need, like, I wouldn't take it off for
no, definitely not take it off. Like I said, it's such a cohesive record.
Oh yeah,
everything kind of it has its place, it has its purpose, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's one of the worst ending tracks. Like, I'm trying to,
there's definitely worse.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot worse. Fight.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We must say that at the same time. We're just like,
I don't even totally hate that song, but it's just a little. We're not even counting those other two albums. Promise.
It's not even. Well, it's just such a non-Cure song. Like, period. Fight. It doesn't. It almost just doesn't fit in their discography. Period. like it's got other problems.
I think that The Hanging Garden has definitely gone down on my list of favorite songs on that album. It might just because it's overplayed, like, to me, just because it's like the one song on that album I listen to the most, probably. But it's, I don't know. It just, out of all the songs on that album, it's the one that I don't feel like fits as much as the others.
The big hit single?
Yeah, I think so. Man, it's not even a single though, but it's just like, I don't know.
It was, right?
It doesn't have the same vibe as the other ones do.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a single, but it was the single. So. But I could see that.
Yeah, and I definitely bounce around on which song is my favorite too.
So highlights.
Yeah, like from a highlight standpoint, like sometimes I'm like, this is my favorite song on this record, and then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, no, this is my favorite song on it.
Yeah, it's like a lot of cureness.
Yeah, and that's do
you have top three then?
A good problem to have.
3 highlights. Yeah. What are your top 3s?
I would say 100 Years, Siamese Twins, and A Strange Day. Yeah. Those
Strange
3.
Day. A Strange Day, A Strange Day, and A Strange Day are my top 3. A Strange Day, Figurehead, and probably
Figurehead's fucking good.
Oh my god, 100 Years is so fucking long. That's the only. It's so good, but it's just like, it's like a power drill that doesn't turn off.
Yeah. I mean, a Strange Day always seems to come back to being my number one, but like I said, it's like it's tough.
Yeah. Siamese Twins is so good though.
It really is. I know.
Goddamn.
Fuck.
So what do you got? Siamese Twins and the Strange Day, and you're going for your third? Is that
no, I have Figurehead in the Strange Day, and I can't pick out a third. I'll probably go with 100 Years just because it's so, like, that opening is unfuckable with the opening line. Come on. The opening line?
Yeah.
The best opening line on any Cure album.
That is probably the best. Yeah, we can just eliminate that from the episodes list there. I think everyone's in agreement that that's the best opening line to any Cure song or album, maybe.
I mean, people will want to know now. We're going to have to do an episode
of opening lines.
Opening lines.
Opening lines.
Best ending lines too.
Yeah.
Fight.
Opening and ending lines.
Fight.
Wait, fight's the first word and the last word? Wait, no, wait. Is it the only word?
My highlight top 3 would be pretty similar. Strange Day, definitely. Siamese Twins is one that definitely grown every year. That one's just fucking solid all the way through, and the perfect ending with the way he's just howling at the end is great. Cold is actually one that I put in there this week anyway. I just love the fucking. So that one.
Your name like ice. Was it your name like ice through my heart?
My heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. His
Yeah.
lyrics. Oh my. His fucking lyrics on this album are so angry and bitter and just everything I need in my life.
Yeah. and super vague on this one too. There's no real like romantic side like Disintegration has, you know, where you just get
there's
like
none of
the anger or the depression and then sprinkled into something that's just lovely. But yeah, there's no.
Yeah.
It's just like harsh all the way through.
Yeah, no,
razor blades,
zero foreplay.
spiders,
No foreplay.
But
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
straight at it.
Because it's a 17 seconds does.
Yeah.
And has
all
like a
of 'em.
creepo vibe to it
Creepy
on some
but
stuff.
Yeah.
And then Faith.
Faith is that like like after the funeral,
Yeah.
hugging each other.
Yeah, there's
kind of
like,
romantic. At least we have each
guess.
other kind of feeling, maybe. I don't know, but
yeah, this album's definitely devoid of love.
Yeah.
Which is unlike probably just about every other Cure album. There's at least something there that has to do with affection and you know, even trying to find, you know, yourself in something else or other people or hope or something.
Yeah, but nothing.
Not on this one.
Even Strange Day.
Yeah, the garden is a hanging garden. So I mean,
Yes.
there's like, you know, it's not all beautiful.
Yeah. You're just waiting for the death blow. It's just like yes.
And I guess we gotta throw it out there just in case the elusive Cold, that line that we mentioned, is dropped very quietly in was it Last Dance, in the your name like ice into my heart is in there. If anybody hasn't found that little Easter egg yet, listen very carefully where he mumbles it near, where is it? I shouldn't pinpoint it at this point, but
I don't have it on me right now.
But yeah, way back when we started this podcast, I hadn't fucking known about that, and then I stumbled across it somewhere after, I don't know, one of those early episodes. I was like, holy shit, it's in there. It's true. The legends are true. But so then you hear it as clear as day as soon as somebody points it out to you. But like, yeah, it was pretty cool. So go try that out, kids. And there's supposedly a bunch of them at one point. I think I read somewhere, Robert said that there were supposed to be others, but they thought it was too tacky and he pulled them out, and like cut them out. There were other little references to pornography and stuff in Disintegration that he scratched. So
we got to get David Allen on the line.
Yeah, let's call him up.
Fucking did that because that's not tacky.
Nah, yeah.
Look, just send us the other ones.
Yeah. Well, we got you. Did you see Dave and Phil Thornalley just did an event last weekend for Record Store Day? They did
really?
Like some kind of like thing together, and they posted a picture of them hanging out together.
Oh, I did see the picture. Yeah, that was all us, baby.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna assume anything. I mean, whoever put that event together literally got them together, but they reached out to each other shortly after we talked to both of them. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
You know, maybe even if just the slightest degree of made that happen subconsciously, then I'll be very
make myself feel better about my life.
Yeah,
bringing old friends together.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we do here at the Holy Hour. We reunite.
And then somehow Robert gets in contact with them, and they end up working on a Wish reissue.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow we got the Wish reissue put together.
And then check the box. Bingo. Wish reissue. Bingo. Or they do a whole new album. That would be even better.
They just scrap the one that they're doing.
I mean, there is still another Record Store Day this year that we could possibly get.
Are they doing 2 again? Is that official?
Yeah,
okay.
It's Black Friday. So I didn't even get Pornography this time.
Yeah. So I guess we didn't officially address Record Store.
Did you get
Day,
it?
did we?
Yeah, I did.
Antonio got it.
I got it.
Yeah. Did you just kind of draw the line? You're like, I don't need.
I don't know. Part of it was part of it was like, oh, I forgot, and then another thing was my son had baseball that morning, and
So it was
then
like-
I was just like, I already have a picture disc of it, like when it was originally done years ago.
Is there already
but
a
like,
pornography picture disc?
yeah,
in?
it was like, it wasn't
Oh.
official though, but like
Oh,
I have that. I was just like, I don't really need another shitty sounding audio, thing of it.
People say the
Unless
picture disc have come a long way, though. Have you
they're
noticed
still like
any?
they still deteriorate over time more than regular vinyl. And like if they would, if they promised me that they were going to do every single album on a picture disc, I would buy them all just to have them to put up like as artwork. But if you're not going to give me a Wish one, there's no point in
You think
me
they're just gonna
even.
stop at some point and not do all of them, or at this point, who knows?
This
Seems
would have
like
been
they're
the
doing
year,
a
wouldn't
lot.
it?
I don't know. Oh, but I mean, they'll probably wait till like the 30th or so. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they should have. They already did Blood Flowers. They're hopping around. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I think Blood Flower. Yeah.
Here's the thing:
yeah.
you can
Go
still
ahead.
get it on eBay right now for like $30, and that includes shipping, so you're fine.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
too
This
bad.
isn't old school record store day where people are,
Yeah.
buying. There's certain records, but
And that album, everybody does have so many versions of that. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it probably won't be anything that people are marking up to.
And
much,
maybe you'll know
but-
this, Chaz. We were talking before you got on. Like, I can't find if like, is this the remastered by Robert Smith version that's on the picture? This like, I tried to look it up and I cannot fucking figure it out.
I don't know. I would assume it
Yeah, they
is,
wouldn't
but
backtrack. Probably it does make sense. It would be the latest if he
Yeah.
remastered it for the deluxe.
Yeah.
when they did the
'Cause
it would
Yeah,
probably
this-
be
I
that
think-
version.
I mean, this one didn't come out that long ago. The Robert Smith remastered one.
yeah, but they remastered them when they put out that 2000. When did they put out all the deluxe CD versions of everything? Wasn't that like the early 2000s?
Yeah, or
was it early?
mid-ish.
Mid 2000s?
Yeah, I can't remember. So
07
it must
maybe?
have been.
Yeah, but they
sounds about right.
remastered them then, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then this was a vinyl only remaster by Robert Smith, so they might
This
sound
was, I
different.
think, 2016.
Okay, so that might actually sound different than the other remaster
Yeah.
than the other one. So, but I haven't listened to it, so I don't know if I have that version. So, but I have like 20 other versions of it,
Yeah.
so I don't really.
I mean,
know off the top of my head.
so
I'm pretty sure it sounds similar.
All right, Dick.
so far, the Robert Smith remastered 180 gram sounds like so fucking
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
it's got the digital download code, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do the digital download code and then like really A and B the digital version of it.
Mhm.
Then now I'm just getting really fucking nerdy.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd be
Not
curious if we
really,
can
because on my
hear, yeah.
computer, I have the original CD ones that I imported, and then I have the remasters that were done in the like
Yeah.
all back to back, like it's all on
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So and when I have it on my phone, I specifically put specific ones on my phone that I listen
Right,
to.
right,
Like
yeah.
I don't fuck with the original 17 seconds one. I do the remastered one, but I'll do the opposite for I think Disintegration. We'll go with the older one, but not the newer one. So I
Right,
don't
yeah.
know. I'm really picky. So
And that's why I love it.
But anyway.
just turn it up or turn it down. If it's the old one,
Yeah.
you just got to turn it up a few notches.
Mhm.
If it's a new one, just turn it down. It's all remastering is fucking turn it up or turn it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my ears are shut, so what do I know?
Yeah, I need it remastered. Yeah, because I have like 30% less hearing in this ear. Like,
Yeah,
fucking-
it's like we need to boost this shit.
But like I'm glad that they did it for Record Store Day.
Yeah.
You know, it exposed more people to the album, and you know, it's probably their first artwork heavy album besides, you know, Three Imaginary Boys. Because like Faith doesn't really have anything on it. 17 Seconds doesn't have anything on it.
yeah.
This
Your
is
Imagine
like,
Boys, they hated and they didn't really
yeah,
have anything on it.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Good segue. I was gonna say how you guys feel on the artwork. Technically, the first and last to ever have the full band on the album cover, right? Is there any other that has the full band? Even though you can barely.
we talked about this. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's usually just Robert or not
or
Robert.
no one.
Yeah.
Or the baby. Or an old man or a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Or my great aunt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool, even though you can't really even make them out, but they're on there. So, and also probably the most drastic album cover from different format, like the tape. I
Mhm.
remember it looks like completely different than
Yeah.
it's the whole other picture where it's like real long and
Yeah.
stretched out. But yeah, that it's a cool album cover, and I feel like the red and black totally just like matches the mood of the album
Yeah,
perfectly.
absolutely. And then you have the insert. Antonio, do you have it there? The insert?
The insert's got
Yeah,
the real
the insert.
Yeah.
It's got like the death photo on it.
Yeah,
with
that
them
one's awesome.
in their masks. Yeah.
That's gonna
So
be the
like,
cover photo for this episode.
yeah, and then all the photo and ad artwork that came out for this album is phenomenal.
Yeah.
A lot of it I use for shirts that I've done, and it's probably one of my favorite eras of artwork that they've done, and it's without Pearl.
Yeah,
So,
who did it? Is
and
there credit?
I don't know who took the pictures,
Purchase
but
design?
I don't know who had the art direction on it. That's what
Yeah.
I'd want to know.
Sleeve design, The Cure, and Ben Kelly.
Oh, thanks, Ben Kelly.
You know, Ben Kelly.
Let's track that guy down.
And still no faces.
Yeah.
We've talked about that
'cause
before.
they're
They
wearing
didn't.
the
They haven't.
masks.
They don't show themselves until
As far as like album art,
just in
covers,
general.
singles
Probably
covers?
the Let's Go to Bed
that
or
single
the walk,
cover.
or,
Yeah, is that the one with the lines and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
even if you go back to advertisements, very few anywhere are showing them at all.
Yeah.
A lot in Australia and New Zealand, you'll see that a lot on like their tour, but like when it comes to their artwork and their magazine stuff, a lot of it is just art, and they're not showing their faces, which I love.
That deluxe edition. Do either of you have the 2-disc CD that came out in 2005 in a digipack? That one has a really.
It's in a box.
That one has
Yeah.
a really great picture on the inside of it. That's not in the original CD or the vinyls. That's the one that's where you can kind of see the masks a little bit more, and they're looking like kind of different ways, and
Off
their
to the
shadows are behind
side.
them.
Yeah.
One of
Mhm.
my favorite, like imagery wise, is like so good. It looks like it's like straight out of like some like strange European like cult horror flick, you know? Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. It's so fucking rad.
But I think the artwork is one of my favorites that they out of anything that they've done.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Wish, and I mean Disintegration didn't even have crazy artwork other than like the floral stuff.
Yeah.
Head on the Door.
That was cool. But
I mean, I don't really
that's
know what
true.
else, like, when it comes to crazy artwork, you have Wild Mood Swings, but other than that, I mean, a lot of it's pretty either obscure or bland.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, or they work great for what it is, but yeah, as
Yes,
far as like
yeah,
encompassing the whole album and fitting perfectly, yeah, it really is. And there isn't much over excess either, in the sense of a lot like the album where there aren't like tons of outtakes or B-sides and wiggle room of this could have been there, that could have been this, and same with those photos. You have like there's not really many of them, even when you're going through stuff for the shirts. I'm sure you kind of like, here's the 6 promo photos, and here's the 6 ones. Half of them were used for the album, so you get what you get. It's like, all right, cool. And first time they're not using the drop C on the font too, right? So it's
absolutely.
So just kind of
Straight
good
across,
stretched out. Yeah, good font. But yeah,
It's the only time they use that font, I think.
yeah, I think so.
Very thin.
I've definitely ripped it off a lot. I've even put it on home recording albums.
There you
It's
go.
like kind of
Yeah.
just general enough where it's just like kind of thin letters, but it's a good one. For us celebrating pornography, I guess we could start winding down even. But do you see this album continuing to improve over the years, or are we just gonna max out on it at some point and be like, all right, get over it, boys?
No, I
I'm-
mean when they do these songs live, like now on any of the more recent things that we still have of them doing them live,
Yeah,
they're just still so good, and they still
Yeah.
stand out in the set against the other stuff. It's I really don't. I'm not. It's I
yeah,
think
they
it's here to
translate
stay.
well to being because the albums filled out great with the production that
Yeah.
Phil did with them, and then even those early versions are great because they're thinner, and the album is like thin by like Cure standards, where there isn't like a ton of shit like Disintegration and Blood Flowers thrown in there, but like when they play them live, like on Trilogy, even though that's ages old now, but like how cool that sounds to hear like a full version. Sometimes you can ruin it, like by doing
Yeah.
like a big modern version of something old and
Mhm.
was perfect. And I always feel like they don't overdo it by any means either. So
I think they're one of the I mean, and not that there are that many bands that have over 40 years under their belt that are still doing it, but out of a lot of those bands, they pull off any era of their songs live, I think better than anyone else.
true.
Like, I mean, it's even to the point where like, I've seen like Pearl Jam just not really hitting on stuff that came out on Versus Live. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or things like that. But there's just something.
Or they
You
feel like
know.
they have to do it in a slightly different way to like, or just to
Right.
make,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
be like
Just
them.
to be, I've been doing it the same way for,
Yeah.
25 years. I'm going to do it this way. And then you're like, oh, that way kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that. And it's still like the songs stand out and they don't feel out of place, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, which also is probably a testament to the way he puts together a set list too. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's a whole nother
Mhm.
like,
praise.
masterful thing that you have to figure
Yeah.
out.
And just the fact that
Yeah.
he's always done that, like every stage, he's never like negated a
Yeah.
part of their career, like so many
Yeah.
bands would just
Yeah.
like fucking wipe out of like, it would have made total, I've said it a billion times, but like when they started to take off around Head on the Door, it would have made sense if they never played anything
Oh, yeah.
before Head on the
Yeah.
Door, except for Boys Don't Cry, maybe, it's like, it would have been tragic, but at the same time, it would have, there's so many bands that do that. U2 isn't playing shit probably from their first like 3 albums, It's like,
Yeah.
there's no way. But
Deep cuts.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's always been great. Like going back to what I said about In Orange as a kid too, like that was 87.
Mhm.
And the fact that was me kind of like really digging into stuff from even like Faith, the song Faith. I fell in love with it on that version of In Orange and like 100 Years and stuff. And you're like, oh yeah. Or it's like, it made me want to go back and listen to the old stuff. He was always still pulling from that, even plugging them into their pop sets and stuff.
Mhm.
So, I feel like you touched on that earlier too, of the idea of this is a great album that gets passed along to younger generations very easily, and especially the idea of like if somebody's just getting into the Cure, they either grab like the greatest hits or one of the singles
Mhm.
collections, or if they're kind of that more badass like dark music fan, you could give them this whole album and it would be like if opening a
Yeah.
door kind of thing, where it's an album that
But
is
yeah,
going to get passed
I've asked
along.
people like they were like, hey, what, if I'm in the Cure, what should I listen to? I was like, well, are you into poppy stuff or are you like
Yeah.
into like moodier, darker stuff? And they're, and depending on what they answer, I'll tell them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I've
that's almost-
recommended Pornography to quite a few people.
Yeah, that's how I kind of
So-
feel like if it's more like full on somebody that isn't about like Head on the Door or the poppy singles, then you're just gonna be like, well, here's fucking pornography. If this doesn't
Yeah.
get you, then don't worry, move on. So this is because something like Faith is even almost more of a slower burn because it's
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
like kind of plotting. If you're not really digging in and seeing, this one at least has like that whoa shit kind of factor, or it kind of like.
Yeah.
startles
And
you.
17 seconds doesn't have enough on it, I don't think, to get a good sample size. And the 3 Imaginary Boys is kind of all over the place, that or even Boys Don't Cry. It's it's not really their solid material. So and the top is not something that'll do again, so it's not there's nothing going with it, so here, listen to the top, but there nothing else sounds like anything else they've done besides this. So
I just give everybody Disintegration when they're like, I want to listen to Cure. I'm like, here.
That's kind of what I defaulted to at this
that's
point.
the best. So, but
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But then again, you're right. Like, I'll give them that, and then they'll go grab something else, and be like, oh well, it's not as good. Yeah, so it's like sometimes it's like, oh, you blew your load like too quick. Just give them Disintegration.
Or it's the next step. Yeah, if like they like the poppier side of Disintegration, then you give them the head on the door or something.
Head on the door and
then,
Wish. And,
and if they like the dark shit, then it's like, all right, well then
take this.
Take this. Don't blame me, man.
Hate the world as much as I do.
In a back alley with like the trench coat. Hey, kid. You tried this one? It's called
Here, let me show you something. And you open up.
Stranger danger.
He gave me pornography. So, all right. Well, on that note, I think we could wrap it up and send everybody off to listen to this wonderful 40-year. Should we have thrown like one of those over the hill parties, like where we have black balloons and the
Lordy, look who's 40.
Yeah, whoa, pornography. Not so badass now, are you, old man? All your
knees are gonna hurt a little bit more every day.
Yeah, maybe. All your
and then if I could just, since we mentioned our House of Harm buddies, I just want to give them a quick shout out. They'll be playing St. Vitus in Brooklyn May 23rd with Soft Kill and Catherine Moan. So
both our buddies.
So
Soft Kill. People we just go way back with these guys. We just know.
I know. So anybody in the tri-state area, definitely come out to the show. It's probably gonna sell out. Like I said, I saw the House of Harm dudes last night. They were great. Big Cure fans, big fans of the podcast. So thanks so much to those dudes. So, shout out to them and Soft Kill. So
did they play any new records? He said he was new songs. He said he was recording
the one single. They're still working on the mixes of the new record, but unfortunately, he's saying it's been taking 6 months for them to get the actual records. Like every time they even try to get represses of their albums, it's almost 6 months. So he's like, I don't know if it'll even see the light of day before the end of the year. Unfortunately, which really sucks. But
sounds like we got a real Robert Smith on our hands.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, way to go.
Just because you like him doesn't mean you got to be like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's all part of the hunt with vinyl, right? Isn't that part of the fun? Yeah.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, vinyl's the only way people are really buying physical records. Although when I went to go see Actors, I did buy one of their EPs on CD, and I did buy the Leathers EP on CD because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking buy CDs.
Props for putting out CDs still. I love it.
I was like, and they're in the cool like cardboard.
Fucking great, man. They're awesome.
I was actually pretty damn excited. I was like, wow. And you know what's even better? They fit in your back pocket.
Yeah, CDs you can.
I like when you're buying vinyl now. I'm like, don't bump into
your
me.
Jenkos. Come on,
your jean jacket usually has like that kind of wider inside pocket. You put a fucking CD in it, man.
It's great.
Proof why they're the best
vinyl, you can't be doing that.
Nah.
I hate going to shows where vinyl's for sale, and I'm just like, I can't buy it now, and I gotta wait till the end.
Yeah, you're standing around with a fucking record all night. And
I know it's
you stand next to a heater, it warps.
Yeah.
If you go outside, it cracks because of the cold. You lean on something, it just snaps in half. It's like,
it's all worthless.
Yeah,
totally. And then, obviously everyone, Cure fans and everyone or Chaz fans too.
Hey.
Excommunication podcast I've been thoroughly enjoying.
No,
So,
thank you.
Damn.
Appreciate it.
Me
give you
too.
that shout out there. Yeah, there's so many people like us, that have kind of experienced a lot of that shit. And then even if you haven't, it's a good listen because I've suggested it to some people, and they're like, oh wow, like I had no clue. It's very eye opening, and then
No, thank you.
so,
Appreciate it.
yeah, so good
So-
shit there. And then I'm still cranking away with Nobody Speaks podcast as well.
Right
So I
on.
got some new shit coming out, and
Yeah.
then
Ooh.
in coming up next month too, I want to we'll do something fun, Gavin. I have an idea for you to pop onto that side for me.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm gonna keep everyone suspenseful. I'm, like,
Suspense is
not telling-
building.
There we go.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll let you guys go. And then everybody out there, thanks so much for listening and cheering on this wonderful album all these years. I think it's real. We should all be real proud of it. It's come a long way. It's a full-grown adult at this point, and
Yeah.
and just as
Just
feisty
embrace
as it
the
ever.
fact that you love pornography.
And just love it, Exactly. So go embrace your pornography and give it some listen.
Get some headphones, sit in a dark room, and just
Yes.
listen to it, and then see how you feel about life afterwards.
There you
Yeah,
go.
not AirPods though. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, big
Get like
puffy,
some good
real
headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because listening to it in headphones definitely changed my entire good headphones changed my entire perspective on the album.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of cool
Yeah.
shit going on in there. So awesome.
All right,
Or
my
just
brothers.
blast it really loud and tell your mom to leave you alone. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
As it was meant to be back in 1982. All the teen angst. That's my kind of teen angst album.
there you
go. Awesome. All right. Well, talk hard out there. And Chaz, Antonio, you guys
Gavin?
are awesome.
Antonio?
Thanks so
Stay
much.
gold, boys.
Stay golden.
Later.
Talk hard. All right, again, a very special thank you to Chaz and Antonio and to you guys for listening out there as we walk through 40 years of pornography, knee deep in it. So, thank you so much. I'm going to shout out the Patreon crew now. Thank you so much to everybody that's part of the Patreon family. I'm going to give Henson a break this week so he's not associated with anything pornography related. So thank you so much. If you think you want to be a part of the Patreon or even slightly curious, go check it out at patreon.com. / the Holy Hour podcast, and you can see what we have to offer over there. Or if you just want to be an awesome person and help out, we appreciate it so much. Like Donna, of course, and Craig, and Jeff Hilton, and Jeff Cortland Jones, and Suzanne, and Ben, and John, and Allison, and Alan, and Dione, and Namicio, and we'd love to welcome our newest Patreon member, Danny. How's it going, Danny? Thanks so much for joining us, being part of the family. It's deeply appreciated, and hopefully get some goodies to you soon here. And on top of all that, of course, we would love to give a giant shout out to our friend of the show, Scott Kruger, who is one of the co-hosts of the Sarlacc Digest, an awesome all-Star Wars podcast. It's the best Star Wars podcast in this galaxy anyway. I can't vouch for anything beyond that, but I got a pretty good feeling it extends way beyond this galaxy too. He's got an awesome crew that he's working with over there, and they love to do the line talk / theory crafting of all your favorite Star Wars topics. They talk about the new shit, the old shit, the books, the toys, everything in between. So join them every Wednesday night live on YouTube at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And let them be the experts and walk you through all the stuff that you thought you knew all about, but you didn't realize it goes way deeper. It's only about 20 days till Obi-Wan comes out on Disney Plus, so they're going to be diving into that one hard. So come along for the ride. Sarlacc Digest on YouTube, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, our friend Kate runs CureThreads.com, one-stop shop for all your Cure-inspired needs. She has some really cool original designs available over there, and they're on everything from socks to mugs, the long-sleeve shirts, She's got disintegration themes, Wish themes, Love Cats, Team Cure jerseys, all kinds of designs, just to name a few. Or you can continue to show your support for Ukraine even with a lovely Letter to Elise inspired design. So please keep your eyes peeled for that and her new children's book that'll be available called Secret Life of the Otter. And it's a wonderful series that she's got going over that she does the illustrations for. Its release was delayed a bit, so I'm not quite sure when the official release will be, but keep checking at curethreads.com. When it's ready, it'll be there. So you Cure fans you're used to that, right? So just wait a little bit. It'll be there and it'll be worth it. So check out curethreads.com. Matt wants you to consider downloading the Red Cross Blood Donor app. It's free and it's easy to use, and schedule an appointment to give your blood and send it to those in need. Don't be a blood hoarder like my sweet little boy Henson. Share the goods. You've got plenty. And if you're in the Calgary area and want a reason to be in the Calgary area, Lisa would like you to swing on by Dickens, a pub/venue up there that hosts a wide range of live shows and events, including another Hang the DJ night that's coming up on the 21st of May, I believe. Elliot Brood is playing there. His poster looked cool, so go check that out. And at the end of July, a 4-day musical event is coming up called Terminus. And it's taking place there at Dickens and has heaps of cool bands on the bill. Actors are one of the bands. Jason Corbett of Actors was on Antonio's podcast, Nobody Speaks. So if you're not familiar with that, definitely go check that out too. But super cool fella and real cool band. So if you're a Calgarians, that's some Game of Thrones shit, isn't it? If you're a Calgarian, don't miss out on this. And you can see all the details at dickensyyc.com, which I recommend because I don't know the full details on this Terminus thing, but it looks rad. So, on top of all that, of course, be sure to check out our friend Chaz Murphy's site, 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com, or just follow his Instagram at 17_seconds. We pretty much link it to every post that's with the podcast here now, so go check it out there. Should be easy to find. He hosts up the coolest quality, affordable Cure shirts you're gonna be able to find anywhere. So you gotta grab them while they're up on the pre-order. Don't miss out. If you want to look cool for those Cure shows coming up in the fall, that's the way to do it. So keep your eyes peeled for 17-second shirts. And that about does it for us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more Cure Talk, so subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and go on over and check out the YouTube page and subscribe on there as well. Follow us on the Instagram at the Holy Hour Podcast. Chime in with some of your comments on the Facebook page too if you want. And if you didn't see my Instagram post the other day, we're looking for opinions and memories on High, the single. We're going to do an episode on High. Do you remember snagging it before Wish came out? That was pretty much the last little nugget of the long anticipation building up to Wish's release. Was the final release of the first single, the lead-off single from Wish, High. I remember it, but I want to hear your story, so record a little voice memo. They're real easy nowadays with smartphones. Just record it in there. I'll touch it up and email it to me or send it to me at gavinconnor@gmail.com. And I'll be talking to my new buddy, Michael White. He's a writer and a musician, real cool guy. We're going to talk about High and get his origin tale, and we're going to read whatever comments you guys send us. So that'll be fun. We can chime in together about your memories and comments too. So let's all get in on this one. High, and as always, thanks so much for listening. Talk hard.